All right, Maddie, welcome back to the Ask Maddie show. Maddie, how are we doing?
I'm doing excellent. Excited to be here. Excited to talk crypto as always.
Today's video, we have a lot to get to. Questions, comments, hot takes. But before we get into that, become a Crypto Charge member. Pinned link in the comment section down below. You can become a Crypto Charge member. 30-day free trial, no credit card required. You can get a lot of tools and daily crypto information. So definitely click that below. Swag, shop.cryptocharge.com. I'm in need of some Crypto Charge swag, so you might get some before me. Hats, sweatshirts, all that goodies. And lastly, team, make sure you subscribe to this channel. It greatly helps us, and like below if you get some value out of this. But today, your comments, your questions, your hot takes. Maddie, are you ready?
Let's get after it.
Robo Omega. Imagine going to a restaurant and paying in Bitcoin. Can't leave for 2 or 3 hours because it's so slow. Red flag.
So, I think we've covered this topic a little bit before, but, when we talk about Bitcoin and, the decentralized peer-to-peer transactions, that's very attractive for a lot of people. And it's really their introduction into cryptocurrency. Bitcoin in its raw form is not a good transactional currency. Sometimes it can be sent very quickly. It just depends on how much load, how much congestion is on the network. With the help of a scaling solution like the Lightning Network, transactions can happen pretty much instantaneously. But Bitcoin all on its own sometimes can take upwards of 2 hours to settle. I have had Bitcoin transactions take an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes to settle. I've seen Ethereum transactions take upwards of 45 minutes to an hour to settle completely sometimes. And that's even withdrawing to a cold storage device, meaning that I'm not waiting on a third-party intermediary to settle that transaction. So, I do think that there's a future where Bitcoin can be processed at point of sale very quickly, but not without the help of a scaling solution like the Lightning Network.
David Fox, please give me your thoughts on Quant, what you think of the project, and potential price targets for the next bull run.
Yeah, so I know the Quant community is really, really big. Quant did incredibly well in the last bull run, and I think that that's a big reason why people have latched on to Quant because it did so well in the last bull run. And, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Something performed really well. You start to dive into the fundamentals, you get into it, you're looking at the over-ledger technology that Quant offers. It's, in that nestle of ISO20022 tokens where, they have the ability to potentially be compliant with the messaging network to facilitate transactions and payments around the world. So I absolutely see the allure with it. I continue to put my focus on assets that are potentially still emerging, that are offering something proprietary. And again, I'm trying to branch outside of my existing portfolio with ISO20022 tokens. I want to make sure I'm diversified there. But let's go ahead and just take a quick look at the QNT chart here. I'll actually just pull it up live for you guys here. We'll go Quant USD. We'll go with the Coinbase chart here. And we can go ahead and look at that swing high, swing low. So just here on the Coinbase chart, you guys can see that we have the all-time high registered at around $433. We have the low registered around $40 per token. So it shows us first and foremost that we came for about a 50% retrace back in October of last year. We're currently riding the 50-week moving average. Not a lot of price action here on the Coinbase chart, but you guys can see that we're riding that 50-week pretty well here as a floor of support. The future targets for QNT do suggest that this is, upwards of, anywhere between a $660 coin upwards of $1,600 per coin. But again, this is a technical setup here. This is what we are looking for in a lot of other assets. It's still plenty farther back in its retracement cycle below the 236. That's a good accumulation zone. So under 132, in my opinion, is a good place to accumulate. It's not for me right now. I've made my plan. I'm sticking to my plan. I don't deviate from my plan. But if you're into QNT and this is something that you want to execute on, I would handle it this way. I have DC under 132. I'd look to maybe take some profits if we retrace towards 270 to 300, and maybe look to restack off of a knockback from there. But those would be kind of the targets: the 1.618, 2.618, and the 4.236 up here.
Wouldn't that be an absolute crazy gain and great for your portfolio? So you can't really go wrong with Quant here, right, Maddie?
Right, absolutely not.
Jay English, just be safe and don't use Amazon in my personal opinion. Go straight to the source. There is no reason to take unnecessary risks. So obviously we've been doing a lot of cold storage content lately. Obviously we're about to touch on some of it. Maddie, is it okay to buy cold storage devices from Amazon?
Yes, it is. So when you buy the cold storage device, the whole entire purpose of you buying the cold storage device is to take away, first of all, the counterparty risk of being on a hot exchange, right? Because you don't know what kind of leverage they have. You don't know if they truly have a one-to-one reserve, right? We can take the proof of reserves like KuCoin has recently provided and say, that's pretty good, right? I don't really leave much on those exchanges other than the funds that I use for leverage trading. If I'm not going to be trading for extended periods of time, I do take those coins back in my cold storage device. Whatever, I'm paying a small fee for that. But, at the end of the day, it's a lot of money I'd be leaving out there by, just not actively trading it. But either which way, when you buy these devices, obviously when you buy from Ledger, you're going to guarantee yourself that you're getting the genuine device. When you go to plug in that device and set it up, it's going to tell you whether you got a genuine device or not. If you're going to go to Amazon, you're going to buy it there. And I know a lot of you guys are Prime members and you want that benefit. You want that 2-day shipping. You don't want to wait a week or whatever. There's nothing wrong with it, but make sure that you're going to the Ledger Live store. Make sure the seller is Ledger Nano actual store there. Don't buy from third-party sellers. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there that are fine, but that's where you run the risk, is when you have somebody else who could potentially open the device, manipulate it, put malware on there, and then you ship it out, and then you put all your coins on there, and then they're dispersed to 100 other wallets, right? That's something I don't want you guys to be in a situation of. So make sure you're buying from the Ledger store directly.
Great input, Maddie. Dunning, when you keep on a Ledger Nano, what is the best way to get coins off in exchange for fiat?
So there's a couple different ways to go about this. So one, you can actually just swap directly inside Ledger Live. So when you are using your Ledger device, you're using cold storage, you're using essentially self-custody solutions. So when you have those self-custody wallets, because that's what each of those accounts are, and they're your Bitcoin wallet, your XRP wallet, your HBAR wallet, those are self-custody wallets in there, and those are just representations in your Ledger Live portal. The coins aren't actually in your Ledger Live account. That's just giving you the ability to view what coins you have, what accounts you have. So option one is to swap within Ledger Live. So what that essentially gives you is different marketplaces or DEXs, decentralized exchanges. It'll show you different pricing. You can actually just swap your coins directly in there. So you could swap those for stable coins. You could swap those for a different digital asset, whatever you like. Now, one of the important things is when you're looking at those and say the pricing, right? You want to compare those to a centralized exchange price, because sometimes the spread is really big and you're going to get a lot less money by swapping there inside of your cold storage device or inside the Ledger Live software there. What you're most likely going to want to do to get the best bang for your buck, assuming we're talking about taking profits, actually unloading our bags at the top of this bull market, is you're going to want to send them to a centralized exchange of choice. Now, you're going to want to be verified on multiple exchanges, and I constantly preach this. I'm verified on probably over 12 different exchanges. I have like 4 or 5 of them I actually really like, but I have backups for my backups. The reason you want to do this, and the whole point of this cold storage device, other than reducing the counterparty risk, is having the ability to send your coins to an exchange that you know is working, right? So during these periods of high volatility, you'll get servers that go down. So Coinbase will go down, KuCoin will go down, right? Some of these will go down. If you are able to log in and you see that exchanges are working, it is advantageous to be able to send those coins to an exchange that you know is working, right? So for me, I'm going to be trying to sell it on KuCoin. If KuCoin is having issues, I'm going to probably send them over to Femex. If Femex is having issues, I'm going to try to send them to a different exchange, right? So make sure that you guys have backups for your backups there. But that's the best way to go about it. And of course, once you have those stable coins, you can send them back to your cold storage device. You can send those back to your Binance, your Coinbase, whatever it is that you want to offboard back into USD. That's going to be based on your personal situation. But really, guys, your cold storage device can act as kind of like a self-custody bank account. Don't feel like you need to rush back into USD unless you need the money and you want to, realize those profits to take care of something, buy something, whatever.
I couldn't imagine being bound to one crypto exchange at this point in my career, Maddie. I just don't know. I'll see why there's the reason. I get the whole username and password, but you guys do that for Instagram. You do it for Facebook. Just take the extra steps. You're not bound. I guess it goes back to people that invest in stocks. Oh, just use it.
Just use the brokerage, right? Yeah. But you don't have to if you have opportunities. So.
J Boss, hot take here. Ripple owns 50% of XRP. Maddie, is this true?
No, they don't. I think everyone looks at also Ripple's, escrow, and they're like, they've got all this XRP, and they're going to dump it on retail traders, and it's going to drive the price down. Okay, first of all, let's think about a couple of things here. First of all, it's like 6%. It's not 50%. Secondly, there's an unlock that happens periodically. It's a schedule. It gets unlocked. They always put the XRP back in the escrow. I want you guys to think about other companies that use commodities, right? For example, Shell Gasoline. They have to buy and custody huge amounts of oil in order to facilitate the hundreds and thousands of pumps they have around the world, right? Otherwise, they'd be waiting to import oil as customers come in, right? That's not a very good business model. You have to have reserves of oil ready to go in order to facilitate the transactions that your customers need. So same thing with the ODO corridors that Ripple has. Their entire fintech product revolves around the usage of XRP as a bridge currency. So without custodying large amounts of XRP, their business model does not work, similar to shale gasoline, right? And nobody would ever think twice about that. They go, well, no one says, well, Shell, why do you have 10 billion barrels of oil, right? It's obvious to them. So it's the same thing here with Ripple. They have to custody it in order to facilitate their ODO corridors.
Thank you for clearing that up, Maddie. I know it's something we talk about. You have to tackle a lot on TikTok to just get into these people's head because there's so much misinformation out there, which is sad. But this is what we're doing here right now is clearing, debunking all those things. Jess says, I am finally at a better place with my bags. Should I move some of that right now to USDC and wait for 36 cents? He's definitely talking about XRP here. You talked about today on the show. Same with Casper.
So I don't know exactly what price maybe this comment was left at. Right now, I think we're trading around like 52 cents. Let me actually just grab that price while we're recording here. 52 cents is actually current market price for XRP. Actually, let's go ahead and just take a look at the chart here so you guys can kind of just see where my head's at here. From a macro perspective, right, you guys can see the resistance that we've pulled into here for XRP, right? It's a pretty big zone, but this was a huge floor of support from basically June of 2021 through May of 2022. So you had a pretty strong floor of support. That floor gave out, that then became resistance back here in September, and we're currently testing that ceiling of resistance again. So, from a momentum standpoint, we're above big moving averages. We're above the 50-week and we're above the 200-week moving averages. That's strong momentum there. From a Fibonacci standpoint, from the most recent swing high, swing low from September to the December low in 2022, which basically set the low for XRP just around 29.8 cents. You guys can see that those extensions do tell us that XRP can move towards 71 cents, 97 cents, or even $1.40. Now, I don't think that happens all at once. I personally unloaded a little bit of my bag here around 52 cents because I'm looking for a pullback down in here into the 30s. You always run the risk of price getting away from you, right? And that's why I don't ever dump all of my bag beyond my targets. If I, this 35% that I sold, and price keeps moving against me, I'm okay with that. I made that decision for myself and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the rest of my XRP here. I do hope that we get a retest here around the 30s before we make a move higher. And you also brought up Casper, and Casper is another good example of that. Let's go ahead and grab the Casper chart right below there. And this is something that we brought up for our members, and I called this out perfectly for you guys the other day. Let's come back down to our daily chart. We're here on the Casper chart. We were in accumulation under this, 4-cent region for just about a year. So much opportunity to accumulate between 2.5 cents and 4 cents here. As we kind of created this clear swing high, swing low, I started identifying this Fibonacci range for our members. I said, hey, got this double top here at the 702. It looks weak in the short term. Then I spotted this W here on the Casper chart. So we had this W that came in as this W form, and I said, hey, this is a continuation pattern. We're right up here on the 618. If we break up over the 702 and 786, we're definitely going to move significantly higher. So you guys can see that we got that breakout. We got that follow through. Currently, we're trying to push up towards 6 cents again. So I'm be looking for the similar thing here. You guys can see that puts us around 7.2 cents, around 10 cents, and a 4.23 would put us around 15 cents per coin. So ideally, what you'd want to do in this situation is unload a little bit at these targets so that when inevitably we do get a good size correction back down, you can reload your bags. Now, of course, the risk you're always running is that price continues to move away from you. My bigger theory right now is that we are in a retracement, right? Meaning that I don't think we're making a new all-time high in 2023. And I know everybody has their bull horns all the way up, but the Bitcoin halving is not until April of 2024. So we generally see nice appreciation, 12 months before that next halving, but we do not see new all-time highs. And historically, what we've always seen is about a 50% knockback after that retracement comes in. So I'm going to be tactical. My overall goal is to build a bigger position here and unload some of these bags so that I can build bigger positions.
That's going to be such an exciting time. Can't wait for that. We got Roman here. I know you are going to give me a hard time about this, but I'm going to stake 25% of my XRP. I'm taking it out of my ledger and into BitTrue. Matt, are you mad at him?
No, but let's be very clear here. You're not staking your XRP, you're lending your XRP. XRP is not a proof of stake model, which means that anytime somebody's paying you yield on that, you are lending them your XRP so that they can lend that XRP out to somebody else at a higher interest rate and then pay you a yield. So you always have to remember, what yield are they paying me, and and what percentage does someone else have to pay for that XRP, right? So if they're paying you 4%, that means someone else has to be paying somewhere 5, 6, 7, 8% on that XRP, right? Which means that there is a counterparty risk, right? Not only with the lender who's facilitating that transaction is making some money on that spread between what they're paying you and what they're lending it out for, but that you're also having to bet on that person paying that back, right? Now, you're not necessarily directly having to deal with that, but those are things that you should consider, right? So, if you want to stake it, you want to earn yield, go for it. But just understand there is counterparty risk with that. You're only risking about 25%. You still have 75%, hopefully, in your cold storage device. But I think it's too risky right now. I pretty much pulled out of Nexo when I saw everything collapsing, and I, saw, a lot of the writing on the wall. Nexo ended up being one of the good guys. They tried to get things done here in the U.S. They're still operating outside of the U.S. So if you're outside of the U.S., Nexo is one of the platforms that I like the best because of their insurance policy by BitGo. But again, with BitTrue, you are putting some risk up by lending your XRP, not staking it.
Great job, Matt. We have the last question here to end off the show. Orlando says, what are your top 5 ISO coins? Thanks.
I know that we all use the term ISO20022 tokens as kind of like, this umbrella academy for, they are the future of this messaging network. And David Schwartz did a great 10, debunking facts about XRP. And, there's no ISO20022 tokens. And that is true because there's no tokens that inherently run on that network. All it means is they would be potentially compliant with that messaging network. So it doesn't mean that they're going to get implemented. It doesn't mean they're going to be used for Fed now. It doesn't mean that they are the bridge currency. So, for me, I'd be looking at, XRP is obviously my largest holding right now. I've liquidated my XLM because I wanted to build my Casper position a lot bigger. But XLM is definitely a good ISO20022 token. Quant is another one that's big on that list. I think that probably HBAR would fall under that category because of its transaction speed, because of its security, because of a lot of the properties that HBAR has. But again, like I've talked about earlier in the show, don't be hyper concentrated because you think that because it falls under the category of ISO 20022 or because it could be potentially compliant with that messaging network in the future, that you should go all in on those coins. You still want to make sure that you have other plays on the board that are satiating other sectors, right? Whether we're talking about oracles, whether we're talking about logistics, whether we're talking about privacy, right? Whether we're talking about enterprise, you want to make sure that your chips are spread. You don't want to be overly concentrated in ISO, even though I do think that they have a very bright future ahead of them.
Great insight, Maddie. Yeah, I know you've been kind of, you've had your ISO coins and you've kind of jokingly said in the past, like, oh, I have 50% of my portfolio is ISO coins, or like a majority of it, even farther than 50%. And, I've followed suit in that. Like, I sold all of my XLM and just, pivoted to XRP because why not? Like, why, if we're like true believers in XRP
Right.
here, why not double down on XRP as our like ISO 20022 coin of choice? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Maddie, any words of wisdom for the team here to wrap up the show?
Well, again, guys, I know that Twitter is getting really, really hot and crazy right now. I love to see it. I know that our Discord community is getting very excited about, all the bullishness we're seeing here. Again, I just want you guys to keep your heads on straight. The current market environment tells us that we are in a retracement right now. Historically, in the last cycle, we saw Bitcoin do about a 300% move from the lows up to the highs. I think Bitcoin's going to top out, somewhere maybe in the 40K range before we see a pretty big knockback. Your altcoins will most likely see a lot of that coming up here. I'm seeing AVAX break over the 50-week moving average. We're seeing Rose break over the 50-week moving average. I'm seeing a lot of altcoins start to catch up here, but please do not be mistaken that this is altcoin season, right? Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of good gains to be had on the table. Consider taking profits when you see those gains, right? A pretty good indicator is if you're sending screenshots to your girlfriend, friends, family about how much money you're making. It's probably a good idea to start taking some chips off the table, if not at least your initial investment, because there's generally an opportunity to buy back at a higher low. And of course, at cryptocharge.com, we walk you guys through all that, answer all of your questions in the Discord to make sure you guys have the top tier education to make sure you're as successful and profitable as possible by the end of this next bull run.
Words of wisdom, Maddie. All right, we're done, team. Thank you for joining us. We will catch you guys next time. See ya.